Welcome back to This is VANCOLOUR. The BC Legislature is on the tail end of a 9-month hiatus from May of last year to next month. With the BC NDP returning to power after a very nasty election, will anything have changed in how the province is governed? Here to discuss is a well-respected and greatly feared political operative. He was Chief of Staff to Premier John Horgan, and you can find him on the Hotel Pacifico podcast. He is Geoff Meggs.
Afraid of me? That's a short list, Mo.
I am terrified of you, Geoff. That's what I was told I should be. I got to ask you, I mean, when we think about the provincial election that we just had,
right,
the results are basically the same. The BC NDP still have a majority government, albeit much slimmer. So is anything really going to change in Victoria?
I think it's dramatically changed, but it's also going to be the same. You're right. I mean, there's an NDP government there. It has a majority. That majority of one seat is propped up by a deal they have with the Greens, which kind of gives them some latitude.
A little buffer room, yeah.
Yeah, a little bit of extra room. It wasn't necessary, but they went and did it. But what's different is the other side of the room, completely different. So whatever happened to Kevin Falcon? I mean, you talk about a 9-month... Yeah, BC United. You're probably too young to remember this. But anyway, No, I think the big change in the last election was the complete destruction of BC United, and that's another long conversation, which I'm sure you've had with other people earlier. But we're going to see a whole new team on the other side, a team that's still learning who its own members are. They're just meeting in the locker room practically. We saw a bit of brawling in their practices before the session.
Are we going to see any direction change from Premier Eby himself?
Yeah, I think we're going to see a big change on that front. So different people on the opposition side and a different front bench, because Eby has now constructed the entire front bench according to his who he's got and how he wants to go with the province. So a new finance minister, new front bench right along the line, new health minister, Adrian Dix, after 8 years now running energy, Josie Osborne running health, all kinds of new people and some new MLAs and a new attitude and I would say a sobered up and kind of chastened attitude on the part of Premier Eby, who's been saying that quite a bit since the election, that it was a near-death experience. He's got a wake-up call, and we'll see how that plays out in life. But it's not like nothing's been happening. We had an earthquake in BC politics since the House adjourned last summer, and they're going to be back not too far from now. So I think we'll be busy there at the legislature soon.
So Premier Eby has called it a wake-up call, called the election a wake-up call. You've called it a wake-up call. Mm-hmm. Then why take an extended hiatus from the BC Legislature? I mean, they've been inactive since May 2024, fair enough. Could have had a fall session, didn't. So now they're going to come back in February. That's 9 months. I mean, Premier Eby beforehand, he was acting with a lot of urgency and a lot of immediacy, and he was pushing through a lot of policy. So then why take this break if it's this wake-up call?
Well, because a big reset's required on a number of fronts. And during the campaign, they kept saying to deaf ears, we've been working hard on the things that you want us to work on. We've been working hard on affordable housing. Nobody agreed that they had been working hard enough. Childcare, we've been doing that. People said, ho-hum. The cost of living, we're really concerned about that. The voters obviously weren't concerned about that. On the other side, Eby kept saying, you got to be really scared of this Rustad guy. He's extremely risky. Mm-hmm. Look at these people. And the voters obviously did not buy that message either. So the machinery of government needs to be given new marching orders. One thing that is striking about the new administration is it hasn't done mandate letters, which we've had in BC going back to Gordon Campbell, which is a sort of the new cabinet is sworn in. Each member gets a mandate letter from the Premier saying, this is what we told the voters we were going to do. Here's your part of that job. Here are the things you may not do, and the penalties that I'll levy on you if you don't or do. So
does that mean that they're going to pursue perhaps a different policy agenda than what was promised during the election? Because maybe they're trying to respond more to the voters that did end up going to the BC Conservatives?
Well, no, I think David Eby said he was making sure that he didn't prejudice his conversations with the BC Greens. But when you read the agreement that they ultimately did with the Greens, there's nothing in there that's earth-shattering. Some of it will be irritating to some NDP MLAs who would have liked to have that kind of proximity to the Premier to talk about some of their concerns. But anyway, they'll learn to live with that. But I think he is trying to figure out how to do some of these huge projects that were promised during the campaign that turned out to be not that easy to do. So like $1,000 rebate or tax, affordability measure to every family. He's now said, I can't do that without the feds. It's got to be in the budget. So there's going to be legislation involved. Now Brenda Bailey's reminded everybody that the election pledge was to do that every year.
Yeah.
She's got a very big budgetary problem on her hands with the budget going up or deficit going up. She says that's okay for now, but it's got to start coming down. And of course, there are all the revenue questions and uncertainties swirling around Trump and you name it. So they've got a lot to do. And in fact, preparing a legislative agenda is a work of 5 or 6 months. It's not something you can do in 3 or 4 weeks.
So we have about a minute left here, and we do have a very disaffected British Columbian populace, people who are just not happy with their government. Mm-hmm. Should they be optimistic that maybe the government will be changing course and adapting to their needs better? Or like give them some optimism here in terms of what they can look forward to?
Well, I think that they should be optimistic that the government has taken this message very much to heart and says at least that it's not a status quo situation, that there will be dramatic changes. What they look like, I think, is hard to say. And whether they'll meet the test of public concern and frustration, I'm not sure. The other problem for the government is that it's very difficult for it to turn the entire ship of government around on a thing like housing affordability. The municipalities are part of it. Mortgage rates are part of it. Offshore financing is part of it. You name it. And some of those factors can go south on you, and all the promises in the world won't produce cheaper housing.
Yeah.
So will be very interesting to see in the months ahead. And also for the Conservatives, whether they're able to take their channeling of public frustration and make it into a coherent message that says we're a government in waiting. We're ready. We can do this because they can't.
Right. They still have to prove that.
Yeah.
Before we go, I got to put you on the hot spot real quick.
Okay.
In the next provincial election, will David Eby still be the leader of the BC NDP, if you had to bet?
I bet he will be. But I would look back and say he got elected for the first time in 2013. And when you are someone with a young family and you put in the kind of time he does, 10 years is a long, long time. So he would be pushing the envelope for sure. But my hunch today would be yes.
A hot take, Geoff. Thanks so much for your time tonight.
Thanks, Mo.
Folks, find him on the Hotel Pacifico podcast. He is Geoff Meggs. Now, we are going to record some overtime with Geoff, so please find This is VANCOLOUR wherever you listen to your podcasts.
If I may be a nurse or a lawyer, already 3 or 4 years in practice, making an excellent salary by any estimation, and I have zero prospect of making a down payment on a house to the Lower Mainland, then I'm going to think that the province is on the wrong track.
Now, after some business, new year, new fees? Well, a lot of things are going to get a little more expensive, and we'll talk about it up next.